Hello there, and welcome to the Time Film Podcast, where we talk the latest in blockbuster film and TV. This week, we're talking about Creed 3. My name is Tom, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, John. How are you this
Hello.
week?
I am great. Yeah, you?
Yes, very good. Let's just begin. Briefly
Yeah.
explain the plot for those who don't know.
All right. I'm gonna be using Google
As ever,
every
here we
time.
go.
Every
Come
time.
on, Google.
Okay, so Creed 3. Still dominating the boxing world. Adonis Creed is thriving in his career and family life. Family life. I can't speak. When Damien, a childhood friend and former boxing prodigy, resurfaces after serving time in prison. He's eager to prove that he deserves his shot in the ring. Oh my god, it just goes on. The face-off between former friends is more than just a fight. To settle the score, Adonis must put his future on the line to battle Damien, a fighter who has nothing to lose.
Okay. I was
Oh,
skeptical about the end, but that went quite hard, I can't lie. And we
that
will be
went hard.
discussing full spoilers, so you have been warned. We haven't actually ever discussed any of the Creed films or the Rocky films on the podcast, not at length at least. So I'd like to start very quickly. What are your thoughts on the Creed movies so far?
The first two are just incredible. I think the third one's brilliant, but the first two are just incredible. Like they just give
Mm.
so much raw emotions and the music. Yeah, the music in those films are just so good as well. But my personal favorite is Creed 2 because there's a lot that goes into that story. And yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Creed 1 and 2 are just fantastic. And I agree with basically everything you said. I think probably the first Creed is my favorite, but I think it's really impressive that, this wider franchise, 9 movies in the Rocky franchise, they've
Wow.
managed to keep it fresh and keep it interesting. And I mean, really, the only one that isn't that good is Rocky 5. And I still like Rocky 5. I think it's underappreciated. So, it really is one of those rare examples of just an absolutely fantastic series
Mm.
in general. So, yeah, Creed 3, Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. What did you think of this one?
I thought it was brilliant. Like he really wanted to get a lot of what he was influenced by with anime and what he wanted to have in this film. This is a very strong directorial debut from him. It's just great what he just did.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like from the beginning, you can really see that he's not messing around. He really
No.
has the direction. I think that's a really great place to start. So,
Oh,
anyone
it
who's
is, yeah.
listened to the podcast will know John's the anime man over here. You bring up anime all the time,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I'm certainly not
I'm
completely
not
alien to it, but you know so much more than I do. What do you think? Do you feel like Michael B. Jordan's influences, do you think he got it? Do you think it was
Yeah,
like,
definitely. Definitely.
yeah,
Like, I've just been watching Attack on Titan recently, like a lot. I know that's not similar to a lot of boxing thing, but there's a lot of fighting in that, and that is very influenced, like the way how Adonis sees the weak points at the beginning. It was like quick, fast, and it was
right,
like slow
yeah.
motion, and it felt very anime like. Not a lot of slow motion because usually anime would do a lot of slow motion to create an impact towards the character or to further enhance that scene. The anime that he was talking about, there was a boxing one, which I haven't watched yet, but it was called Hajime no Ippo. And when I was looking at the clips in the opening, he was definitely inspired that. Like he knew what style he wanted to bring, and it just felt so engaging to watch. I thought that was just a new spin to see in the Legacy sequels because in the Rocky films, you see two guys punching, they're just duking it out, like, and you can see Rocky just getting absolutely destroyed. This is completely different, and it just felt so engaging. Not to diss on the boxing things in the earlier films, but this one's just a new, different take on that.
Yeah, every director and every era of the Rocky films have brought something different. You can definitely tell with the first film that it's so much different to what Sylvester Stallone would go on to do when he directed 2, 3, and 4. And then like that in itself is completely different from what they do in 5. And there's some like even in 3, there's a little bit of like wrestling in there. And then like when Rocky Balboa comes around, that film was I think 2006, I want to say. 2 decades later, it's completely different style. And then Ryan Coogler brings a completely different and fresh take, and he makes it so much more
Yeah.
gritty and so much more real, which is saying a lot because the first Rocky especially is so down to earth and is so
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
human. And then what you get in Creed 2, it feels so much more big and so much grander. But then I think Creed 3 in the action and in the direction, even the direction when it's not the action, it's so personal, it's so emotional, and there's a level of intensity that you really, really feel in the fight scenes in this one. There is a great moment
Oh,
where everything just kind of disappears around Dame and Adonis as they're fighting, and you
Mm,
really feel that it's just these two people out for blood, out for killing each other, and there's so much weight to it, and there's so much behind that. And I did feel it went a bit far. There's a moment where one of them gets slammed into some bars, like a prison, and it's like, yeah,
yeah.
we get it. And there's a moment where they see each other as kids, and it's like, yeah, we get it. But I love the fact that we just see them and they're just going at each other, and it's just, like each hit is so much, and you can just hear their breath, and there's no music, and then it cuts back, and we hear we're in round 11. It's just been there. We are right in their mindset. All they see and all they care about is each other. And I just thought that was so well done. We didn't do the regular montage of all of the different rounds. It crashed straight through them all in this really, really interesting piece of direction that I loved.
Oh yeah, I love that as well. Like they were just completely focused, and there was a great shot that I really liked when they actually punched each other in the face like at the same time, and it was just like completely going back to reality. Round 11,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah,
that is
that's just like Rocky 2, which is exactly how Apollo and Rocky end their second fight. Such a cool move.
yeah, it just brings a lot into that. Like they are completely at the same level, but they just want to fight each other. And there's a weight to that in the whole story. Like you follow the story between them and it just comes so personal. Like it's very different to see what you see in the legacy sequels and Rocky itself. Like you get to see Adonis fight something that's really, really, really personal. I mean in Creed 2 it's kind of like that, but this one is about like friendship and the past as well to let go.
Yeah, I remember when they announced Creed 3, and I was like, no, don't do it, don't do it. And I was really worried they wouldn't get it right because at this point we've done so many different kinds of villains. I think the Rocky villains, they're either amazing or they're pretty bad. When you think about Rocky
Oh,
5 and Rocky 6, and I think even Creed 1, the villains aren't great. But when you think about Apollo
Mr. T.
Creed and yeah, Mr. T, what's he called there? Clubber Lang, Ivan Drago, Victor Drago, and in this, Dame, brilliant. You think about all those, and I think that they really did add to that. This is the second time that you've brought up legacy sequels, and there's so many of them, but I think Creed could be the best. I think Creed and probably Blade Runner 2049 are the two best examples of legacy sequels that
Mm,
perfectly progress the story. They work in their own right. They bring back things from the old movies, but they never do it. They never just put in nostalgia at the expense of the story and the
yeah.
emotions, and they do it so well. And I'm really happy with this trilogy that we now have. These three Creed movies that we have. I think we're so lucky that it's come together to make this really, really nice story.
I agree. Like, it's a really strong story, and it didn't go far off to anything else. They just really thought about like what happened with the two first films, and then they just thought about the characterization of Donis and what new ways they could explore that. And Jonathan Majors, he killed that role. You can see a lot of potential with Jonathan Majors in a lot of films. Like there was a film that I have to see, but I heard it's amazing. It's called The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Yeah, he was in
Yes,
that
that's one of
one.
his early roles. I am so annoyed because I remember a couple years ago, my dad was like, I'm going to see this movie called Last Black Man in San Francisco. Do you want to come? And I was like, no, I've got something to do. I had some reason that I couldn't go, and now I'm kicking myself. I wish that I saw it. And yeah, I hear that he's great. We talked a couple weeks ago about Ant-Man, Quantumania, and we talked about how Jonathan Majors is 100% the best part of that movie. And I
Oh
think in
yeah.
this movie, he is just such a powerful presence. He is menacing in the second half, but in the first half, you really feel his pain and his regret and his seething anger, this kind of
Oh,
anger that boils up from him. And his performance is so good to the point where I really felt for his character. And I felt like I was being strung along just like Adonis. I knew he was going to be the villain, but I still felt for him. And I still
yeah.
thought, oh, yeah, no, but he deserves his shot. And he's making some really good points. And he's got such a good performance. And my God, he's so fucking hot. Oh my, he's so ripped.
Yes.
And
Not
like
gonna lie.
in
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
you look at like the training montage, whenever he's shirtless, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, he's
Oh
the
my god.
pinnacle of fitness.
Oh my god, those pecs. Yeah, yeah. He is up there with Ryan Gosling in terms of hotness.
That's a
Sorry, what we're talking
that's a
about? Creed.
that's a very a comparison I never thought that anyone would ever make.
I don't
Jonathan
know.
Majors and Ryan Gosling. That's it.
That's
Perfect.
it.
But
Uh
no, yeah, he is a beautiful. I mean, Michael B. Jordan as well. We're not here to talk about beautiful men, but
oh
they are in
yes.
this movie.
Sorry.
There's a lot
Oh,
of
by the
them.
way,
There's a lot of them.
yeah, I love the chemistry between Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors. Like, if you watch some interviews, if you see
Mm,
Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan together, it's just a vibe. It's just like
yeah.
so wonderful to see them together, and they just talk about what we talk about, like movies and stuff like that. Really passionate about it,
Oh
and
my
it's
God,
just like
they're just like us.
Oh my
They're
god, he's
just
like me for real.
they're so down to earth.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
no.
they've spoken about like they want to work together. I think they likened themselves to De Niro and Pacino. And I
Mm,
swear to God, if we just get like a string of absolute bangers with Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Majors, we're eating well.
we
That
are
like, that
eating
just
well.
sounds so great. We've seen in the past so many Rocky villains who have hit so hard, Clubber Lang and Ivan Drago spring to mind. But the way that Dame, like the way they depict his punches, I think are just so effective. And there's this one moment where in Dame's first fight, when he is knocked and he takes his gum shield out and
Oh,
his like tooth is
yeah.
coming out, and you feel this screech in the sound design, and then he puts it back in, and oh, he's mad, and he demolishes the other guy. It's a bloodbath.
That scene, he loses tooth, you're like, oh, he's pissed. Just love Jonathan Majors. He's just
He
so
is.
good. Yeah,
Whatever he wants to do, I'm there. I'm there.
I'm there. Yeah.
Other great performances for anybody who hasn't seen Da Five Bloods. He's amazing in that, and Lovecraft
Wait,
Country,
he's
which is
from
a really
Divide.
really cool.
Oh, he
Yeah,
was.
he's the son in Da Five Bloods.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
mental.
great. Yeah.
Brilliant. What a
Yeah.
guy. What a
What a
guy.
guy.
And I think what they also do, because it's difficult with Rocky and this whole franchise, every single film all follow a similar formula. There's always that moment where the hero is done and they're not coming back. And then at the end, they're coming back. And you get that at the beginning because Adonis becomes the heavyweight champion of the world. He beats Ricky Conlan again,
Oh
and
yeah.
then he retires. And I think they really, really well depict that time where Adonis is spending time with his family, and especially with Amara, his daughter. I thought that dynamic
Oh.
and that part of the
Oh,
film worked so, so well.
yeah. There's one thing that I love that Michael B. Jordan did was the signing. Like, oh my god, like he did the signing so like authentic. He knew how to sign in terms of like facial expressions and like how to communicate very well in terms of sign language. I thought that was just brilliant. I love that. That was a great sense of representation as well for that. I love that. That was like something that focuses on Adonis and how does he gonna juggle between two worlds with hearing world and the deaf world. Like there's his family and then there's the boxing world. You gotta do it for yourself, you gotta stand up, you gotta go through the times. And when something knocks you down, you gotta continue. You gotta go stay strong. That's what
Yeah.
Rocky says as well. So yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. It like, I don't want to constantly compare to the other films in the franchise, but there are some really good comparison points. And when you look at what they tried to do with Rocky's family, particularly in Rocky 5, I think that Creed 3 does that so much better, and the family feels so much more authentic. And what I love so much about it is the troubles that Creed has with his family, with Amara. It's never like, oh, it's so difficult having a deaf child. No, it's the exact same problems you'd have with every child, and he has the exact same relationship. And even when you see Marianne, Adonis's mum, with Amara, and they have a great granddaughter grandmother relationship, all that stuff works really really well. They're not like, I think the representation, as you say, was so on point, and it worked so well. And there's this like thing about whether Amara should be using her mind or her fists. Is she taking after Bianca or is she taking after Adonis? And I think that works really nicely, to
Yeah.
see this different perspective on the family life than what we've got previously in the franchise.
Yeah, I love that. That is great representation. It's just realistic and I just love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all the women in the film, in the Rocky franchise, it's difficult. It's such a male dominated franchise. And, when you look at the first 5 Rocky films, the first 6 Rocky films, in fact, the women are just there to give a pep talk to the hero and like another thing for the hero to kind of win. And not that Adrian isn't a great character, because she is, and she has a great arc herself of becoming more confident. But I think Bianca in this movie, Tessa Thompson, is so great, and she has this really nice little sub arc of missing the music scene and missing that element of her life. And with her progressive hearing loss, she can't perform anymore, and that's difficult for her.
Mm.
And she has her own dreams and own aspirations. And if anything, I wish that we had a little bit more with that. It felt very much after Dame's first fight, where he becomes heavyweight champion of the world, and the training montage. In that time, things moved very fast, and we could have used a bit more time to settle with some of those elements. But I did really like what we were beginning to delve into with Bianca. And if there is a 4th movie, which it looks like we may get, I hope that we continue to explore what things are like with her.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments in the first two. I mean, the first or second, when, Bianca was trying to get through, with the progressive hearing loss and she wants to continue making music. I thought there was some personal moments in the first two, like the hearing test in the second one.
Yeah,
And it was very emotional. That
yeah.
is something that parents are constantly worried, like this is a child that gonna go through that life. And Bianca's been going through that stage of like progressive hearing loss and then Amari's death, and that's completely shifting perspectives on Adonis is like, oh wow, this is gonna be taking a lot on me. And you can see that character development to that between Creed 2 and Creed 3 as he gets stronger. Not in terms of like he's just like exercising, like, oh yes, I'm
I'm the
getting
strongest man alive.
but in terms of like he has heart and strength.
Yeah, and there's even a part of this movie that is about a different kind of strength. It's not all about the physical strength. A lot of sports movies and a lot of boxing movies, you may think that's what it's all about, but Bianca really tries to stress the importance of speaking your mind and feeling your emotions. And through the different sides of Amara's life, will she take after her father or her mother? And whatever she does, she needs to be able to express herself. And there's a really, really great scene. Again, I did feel like it was a little bit rushed, but it really worked when Adonis sits down with Bianca after his mum's funeral and he tells her what happened with him and Dame. And he admits that he ran away and he opens up to his fears and his insecurities and that he needs to stand up, but not just to win the fight, but for himself. And I really liked that. It's another spin on classic Rocky tropes that I think take it to the next level in a really, really nice way.
It was the strongest part of the film. Like he's trying to find strength within him, and how is he not going to run away from the past but let go of it? Like he has to find closure on it, and that is really, the strongest areas of the film.
Yeah, no, 100%. You also get that through Marianne as well. She hid all of Dame's letters because she wanted to try and
Oh
protect
yeah.
Adonis from him and from like his influence. And like you understand completely where she's coming from. But when Adonis finds out, he greets it with anger and he greets it with violence. And he's shouting at her and he's like, this is all your fault. And then she has another stroke and she's gonna die. And there's this beautiful, beautiful sequence where Marianne dies and she has a funeral, and in her final moment she talks to Adonis and she thinks that he's Apollo, and it's so gut-wrenching. Oh my god, this series knows how
uh,
to pull on your heartstrings and to take what you know, the tragedy between her and Apollo, with Apollo being this fighter who died because he could never truly give up, because he always wanted that feeling, that rush of the match and the fight. And she knew that that same thing could happen to Adonis, and Adonis, who isn't even her child by blood, but is very much her child from the way that she raised him and took him in. And then in those final moments, it's beautiful. It's really, really well done storytelling, and Michael B. Jordan directs it with such a tenderness, and he really knows how to utilize that even through the editing, the way that everything is sequenced. Just beautiful, beautiful
cinema.
cinema.
Yeah. The weaker parts of the film, in my opinion, were just the score. I just thought
Yes,
that
I agree.
it was missing that strength type.
That punch, yeah.
That punch, yeah, exactly. But not gonna lie, there was some songs. There was one that I really liked from the soundtrack when Damien and Adonis were, training. There was one track that I really liked. It was by
Yeah,
J.
no,
Cole,
yeah.
Interlude, which I thought that was great. But it's missing that type rocky music, like that is
Yeah,
gonna be like
yeah,
that makes you want to stand up and it wants to get you out the house and just run.
yeah.
Like you want to get out.
Yes,
You want to be like
100%.
you're undefeatable. You feel like you can take on anyone. You can get
Yes,
through stuff. And
yes.
Creed 2 has that
Cinema,
motivation. But every time you watch that scene,
cinema.
you feel powerful. You feel like you can do anything you want. And
Mm.
Ludwig Göransson, legend. He mixed hip hop and opera and all of that. And it's cinema. But it was missing. It was
Yeah.
missing that.
This one, I agree. It was a shame, and the score was very reserved. It was very like it was very downbeat, and I think there were some really good pieces, especially what I think was Dame's theme. I thought was really well, and it had this really great sense of impending doom, and they used that really well. However, they don't utilize Adonis's theme enough. And Joseph Shirley, who does the score, is great, and he works with Ludwig Göransson. So like, there's definitely, you can see the progression there, but it didn't hit like the training montage. I thought the training montage was really strong. There were some really great moments when you find out that Adonis is pulling a plane Oh my God, that was incredible. You see that he's genuinely like on the floor and he's pulling this plane. And right at the end when he runs and he's on top of the hill where the Hollywood sign is, and it pans out and he screams and it's brilliant. But the problem is that the score, it wasn't uplifting those moments. The great thing about the Rocky theme and even the Creed theme, the other ones, is that they build and they build and they build. They build to the moment where Rocky reaches the top of the steps, or he runs past Creed on the beach, or he goes to the top of the mountain and he yells
Ah,
Drago. Like these moments are so good. Or when Adonis like is overtaken by all of the quad bikes and he's just in the middle, he's doing his done his like and the music is going at all cylinders. And this one it didn't have that. It didn't build. And therefore when it came to like the final fight, I wasn't pumped. You know, just like you're saying, I didn't feel that energy. I wasn't like, yeah, I was like, okay, this is, and I agree with you 100%. That whole middle bit, I think, just needed a bit more time. It could have done with another 10 minutes, maybe, to flesh out some of these things. Give us some more time with Bianca, give us some more time with Creed's headspace, which takes him into, because, like, you know, he starts training, but he's not in it and he's not doing a good job. And then he's on the floor and he remembers all the time that he gets back up. And I was like, here it is. This is when the training montage is going to start. But it didn't. The music didn't kick back up. And I thought that was a real shame because it was a good montage. There were some really good moments. Like, you know, you see when he's punching the tree, or when, yeah, as I said, like when he's pulling the plane, or when he's on top of the Hollywood sign, or even the fact that Victor Drago is helping him train. That's
ah,
a really nice thing of like, you know, you see that these guys have no bad blood. You know, unlike Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago, it's not about blood. It's not about actually hurting people. It's just a sport, and they get over their parents' rivalry and they're helping each other. But yeah, the music could have gone so much harder than it actually did.
yeah. There was other that I just remember was when I felt it was way too quick to have a training scene. When
Yeah.
there was this interview, Dane somehow rung up the news station and was like, "You ready to fight? I'm gonna fight you.
Yeah.
Apollo should be disappointed in you, you know." And then Adonis was like, "You won, yeah, fight,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah.
And it was so quick.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
it really did just like go from like 5 to 10, like in the
yeah,
space of a scene. And I understand that, but I agree with you. It needed more time to cook. And what they were
yeah,
cooking was amazing, but it did need that little bit extra. I definitely think like the,
a
the
bit of
pacing is really
seasoning.
good.
Yeah,
Give it a bit of seasoning, exactly. Like the pacing was really good, the way that they slowly built to everything, but then they kind of rushed the ending, which I thought was a real shame. But at the end of the day, it is quite different in a lot of ways from all the other films in the franchise. So I think there definitely is something to be said about the fact that this somewhat felt final. It felt like this is it. It felt like this is the end of the series. I kind of think it should be, at least for a while. I mean, what do you do? You want Creed 4, or do you want something else? Like, do you think we should end it here? Like, what are your thoughts?
let me say what I want to say. No, no. Well, this is a podcast,
Okay,
but
okay. It's like you're gonna give some hot take. Let me say what I'm gonna say right now.
I don't mind for Creed 4, but a Creed anime which they just announced. So,
Yes, that's interesting.
would
So,
you please? Can I
if
have
I
the?
ask very nicely,
I wonder if Michael B. Jordan's gonna direct that.
that would be interesting. See,
That'd be
so
interesting.
literally a couple days ago, they announced, or they didn't announce, but it was reported by Deadline that they're working on a Creed anime series, and then they're also looking at some story about Amara. I don't know how I feel about an anime series. Let them cook. I say, if it's good, great. If it's not, hopefully they do better. But what I do think is Amara. If we got a film about Amara, that would be really great.
It would be great to have like a film about a character that is deaf and a boxer. First deaf woman boxer. That would be
That
really
would be really
interesting.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Those are two different perspectives we've never seen in this franchise before. But do it in 10 years. Wait
Yes.
10, 15 years.
Yes.
Let's not,
10, 50
don't
years. I'm
like,
happily to wait.
yeah, like we shouldn't just be churning these out. This was a really great trilogy. Let's have the next one, whether we call it Creed 4, or whatever they want to call it. Let's have it be in like 15, maybe even 20 years. Let's have it be a grown-up Amara. I mean, obviously it'd have to be grown up. Imagine if it was like kids. It's like
No.
kids boxing. It wouldn't work. And I think that, yeah, as you say, the deaf perspective, the female perspective, these are really important things
Yeah.
that
Definitely.
this
Yeah.
film introduces. And even at the end of the film, when you see her and her parents in the ring together and they're boxing, and you see that she's watching videos of her dad, that would definitely be something that they could explore further.
That would be really interesting to see, how she got into boxing, like
Mm,
what inspired her. So yeah, that would be,
yeah.
imagine like it starts off footage of, Adonis and fighting a different opponent, and you see her completely be inspired.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
There's
that would
loads of
be,
places to go. She's got a mum and a dad. Adonis would probably support her, and Bianca might not. There's a lot. It's a completely different thing we've ever seen before. So yeah, let's do that, but let's do it in a few years. The final thing
yes.
that I want to say before we give our scores and before we wrap it up, this film doesn't have any Rocky, but I didn't mind. I think that
Yeah,
actually it worked. I think it was good that Creed got to stand on his own, and I think that genuinely Rocky's story does end in Creed 2. And I don't know about you, but it didn't really faze me that he wasn't in it. I think it worked.
yeah, I was completely fine. I didn't
Yeah.
mind it because it was focusing on Adonis.
But even this film, it's set in LA. It's not set in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah.
So this film feels in every aspect of it separate from everything else. And I think that's what
Oh
that works.
yeah. There was another thing that I remembered.
Yeah.
I might be really crazy or insane about this, right? At the beginning, there's a
Mm.
flashback with Adonis sneaking
Yeah.
out. If you look under the TV, this is quick.
Under
I
the
don't know.
TV.
Under the
All right.
TV,
Okay.
there's an Xbox One.
And that was one?
The game cases. Like the game
Yeah.
cases.
Oh, it was Xbox One cases.
Yeah, they were just there. I,
Maybe Marianne is so rich they got an Xbox One
oh, she
15
time traveled.
years early.
I don't know.
Oh my
I
God.
was like, did they forget what year this was? Like
No,
2002?
I bet not. There's no way that
I
they got
bet.
that wrong. You're probably
I'm
you're
sorry,
wrong.
but I might sound insane in this, but please, I would be happily to be wrong, but I did
Yeah.
definitely see
Yeah,
something.
Michael B. Jordan, I know you're listening. Comment down below.
Or Jonathan Majors, comment
Yes.
down below.
All right, okay. We're about to run out of time on this Zoom call.
Yes,
Let's see if we can do this in 1 minute. What are you giving Creed 3 out of 10?
8.
Me too. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you liked it and listening on YouTube, you can give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can give us a 5-star review if we think we're worthy, and you can follow us. And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @OutSideFilmPod. And also give us an email. Tell us your thoughts on Creed. Tell us your thoughts on Rocky. Tell us your thoughts on Creed 3 or anything. Ask us any questions. We'll read them right here on the podcast itself. Next week, we're doing Shazam Fury of the Gods.
Oh, can't wait. Yeah, whoa,
It's going to
excited.
be great.
Thank you for listening. Take what you're given.
Get on the back.
Goodbye.
Boom. Goodbye.
Boom. Right,
That was
bye.
amazing. Play that in 0.5 speed, and we will.
If you missed anything, it's gonna be like rap god, like
Yeah, you might be able to actually figure out what we're saying.
yes, we just might said some
Oh,
gibberish or something.
good. Goodbye.
Goodbye.